Hello, my name is Brian Goodwill from the Sales Enablement team, and I'm going to go through this presentation that discusses the functionality and use cases for IBM Spectrum Protect. There are many challenges facing clients today. Simply keeping up with the ability to back up data as it grows is becoming more and more challenging, and the amount of data is expected to grow tenfold between 2016 and 2025. What's more, an estimated 68% of clients are using data that is stored in backups in order to drive new business models that go beyond just data recovery. Clients are reusing and repurposing existing data in backups to better understand their business needs. In addition, the use case that is driving the most amount of data to the cloud is backup and disaster recovery, because it feels safe for businesses. In fact, 73% of large enterprises plan to use public cloud for backup, archive, and disaster recovery purposes. However, believe it or not, nearly 1 in 3 companies will experience a data breach in the next 2 years. These reasons suggest that you must put new technologies in place to help protect and reuse your data while also locking it down to prevent against cyber attacks. Data protection is not an easy business to be in, and it requires new capabilities to be successful at it. And data protection includes many things, such as protecting data integrity, quality, and security against cyber threats. This slide shows some of the interesting facts to make note of, such as the average cyber breach costs businesses $3.86 million US. It's based on an average cost of downtime being about $200,000 per hour. The estimated global cost of the WannaCry malware attack was $8 billion US. And the impact of the NotPetya virus for one company was over $310 million US. On average, a hack or a breach is not discovered for about 206 days. That is more than 6 months of elapsed time before the average intrusion is detected, which means that an organization will need a lot of uninfected backups to cover that long duration prior to discovery of the intrusion. Keep in mind that the chances of experiencing a data breach in the next 2 years is nearly 1 in 3. So it's not a question of if, but rather when. And this is likely why cybersecurity threats were ranked so highly in the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report for 2019. When ranked among most likely risks to affect the world, cyber attacks were ranked number 5. When ranked among risks with the largest potential impact, cyber attacks were ranked number 7. Based on these statistics, organizations are clearly facing significant challenges related to cybersecurity. When you think about data protection, there are essentially 5 key trends to be aware of. As always, the ability to recover data in the event of a loss or corruption is critical to why business does backups. It's just a must. Next is disaster recovery. In much the same way as application or data recovery, in the event of a natural disaster, the ability to get the business up and running is paramount. Statistically, businesses that can't recover from a disaster within 72 hours go out of business, so having a plan is critical, no matter the size of the business. Business continuity is a superset of disaster recovery, and having a business continuity plan would mean having a good disaster recovery plan. It is imperative that not only are applications protected, but users can access the data and applications in the event of a disaster. New in the last 4 to 5 years is the ability to reuse existing data for other business purposes. With the latest talk about data being the new oil or a natural usable resource, companies that can take advantage of this data are more likely to be successful. Having the ability to spin up copies of this data quickly for other business uses such as DevOps, analytics, or reporting, as well as supporting a good disaster recovery strategy, has become a way to take further advantage of your backup solution. The latest entry to the list is cyber resiliency. While cyber resiliency has been important for a long time, it is now top of everyone's mind due to the most recent attacks and the statistics that talk about how cyber attacks cost businesses a lot of money. The ability to recover from one of these attacks is not as simple as just a data recovery, so new planning has to be part of how businesses protect their data. So why IBM Spectrum Protect? There are many ways for data to be lost or damaged, such as hardware failures, laptops getting stolen, files becoming corrupted, natural disasters, human error, and ransomware attacks. Spectrum Protect protects your data while ensuring that the data is easily recovered. Additionally, there are regulatory requirements to adhere to for data protection. The cost and complexity or protecting your data can be addressed with a simple, centralized solution that provides a wealth of capabilities, and that solution is IBM Spectrum Protect. Now let's get into some details about IBM Spectrum Protect. Before we get too far along, just to ensure that we're talking about the same products, this slide here matches the old product names to the current IBM Spectrum Protect suite of products. For example, if you're familiar with products like Tivoli Storage Manager and Flash Copy Manager, this slide gives you the current names for those products. And Spectrum Data Protection is a triad of products that complement each other. Broadly, they can be divided as IBM Spectrum Protect, which does the heavy lifting, long-term storage and archival, multi-tier storage, multimedia technology storage. Then IBM Spectrum Protect Plus, which is easy to install, has rapid time to value, virtual environment protection, modern application protection, container protection, instant restore, self-service, and data reuse. Spectrum Protect Plus is suitable for small to large installations, typically for operational recovery, disaster recovery, long-term data to be offloaded to object storage or to Spectrum Protect. And then IBM Spectrum Copy Data Management, data reuse through block storage and virtual machine snapshot management, with application integration and the workflow management including data anonymization. Self-service data redeployed into cloud-hosted block storage such as Spectrum Virtualized for public cloud, or on-premises test, development, or DevOps workloads. Spectrum CDM can be used to provide snapshot operations for Spectrum Protect. Over time, Spectrum Copy Data Management, block storage support, and workflow management is being introduced into Spectrum Protect Plus. Some of the features and functions of Spectrum Protect are duplicated in Spectrum Protect Plus. Typically, this is virtual machine data protection and some application protection. Each Spectrum Protect server can protect up to 4 petabytes of total managed data, using up to 1 terabyte of storage for deduplicated and compressed data and up to a 6 terabyte catalog to record and manage the protected data. Spectrum Protect covers what is running in your enterprise: IBM DB2, Oracle, SAP HANA, VMware, Hyper-V, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Exchange, Domino, Unix, Linux, and Microsoft Windows. Spectrum Protect has the flexibility to cover your enterprise. Policy-based software and hardware snapshots, hot, warm, cold, disaster recovery, disk to disk, disk to cloud, disk to disk to cloud, disk to tape, disk to tape, software and hardware replication, wide area network optimization, on or off premises, cloud. And Spectrum Protect provides storage support for IBM, EMC, Hitachi, HP, Oracle, and others, as well as cloud offerings such as SoftLayer, IBM Cloud Object Storage, and Amazon S3. And your data is deduplicated, compressed, and encrypted, and secure. And data outlives its infrastructure. Servers and networks and hardware can be replaced either at the server end or the client end, but you always want your data to be accessible. Spectrum Protect creates duplicate data. The product initially used tape copies, but now leverages server replication. It provides an efficient tertiary copy of the business-critical data. Spectrum Protect only backs up changes. From its first release, Spectrum Protect has used a progressive incremental backup method to back up only the objects that change. There are no repeated full backups which waste time and resources. Data is growing each year. To meet that challenge, Spectrum Protect is designed with a relational database that can manage billions of objects. Spectrum Protect is designed to be deployed modularly like building blocks. You can implement just the features that you need, and then build on your deployment as you include other features. Each object is managed individually. Policies can be applied to each object. You don't need to keep virus log files for months, years, or decades. You can put large files onto tape, but keep smaller ones in block storage. You can move non-compressed file types onto non-deduped storage, rather than wasting time and compute trying to dedupe and compress the files. Spectrum Protect's integration with applications is done via the vendor's APIs. This means that the data has integrity and is reliable if it needs to be restored. IBM does not introduce APIs that are not supported by the applications or use vendor-independent application backup methods. And because Spectrum Protect manages each object individually, and not every object changes, the software knows exactly what needs to be restored to a restore point, and it restores exactly what is required. Competitors often have to restore a full backup and then overlay each incremental backup to get to the desired restore point. Other competitors have to waste time and resources processing incremental backups into a full image, either by synthetic backup or database-oriented methods. Simply put, Spectrum Protect is faster and more efficient. Spectrum Protect scales up more than any other currently available backup system. Spectrum Protect often carries out the same amount of work with a single server as tens of servers do with competitor products. Important metrics for this kind of comparison with scale-out competitor products are data density in terms of kilowatts per terabyte served and rack unit per terabyte served. Spectrum Protect operates at the individual server level, so in a large multi-server environment, the failure of a single server does not stop the whole infrastructure from operating. Scale-out storage is available with Spectrum Scale or IBM Cloud Object Storage, which integrate tightly with Spectrum Protect. Infrastructure cost reduction is based around the efficient scale-up abilities of the Spectrum Protect server that supports large amounts of ingest and storage with a single node, alongside the highly efficient use of tape, block, or object storage media. The Spectrum Protect server acts as a database host, leveraging a DB2 database, a market-leading relational database. The server runs the Spectrum Protect code, which handles the command control, scheduling, policy management, and storage management, and performs the data movement from client to target storage, and the data movement between the different media tiers. The server also handles media optimization operations. The Spectrum Protect client provides the interface with the operating systems and application APIs to select and move data from client to server. It also controls the storage sources, snapshot, or network and data management protocol to allow their backup. The Spectrum Protect architecture is a flat, simple architecture that is easily expandable as additional servers don't run the risk of overloading the pre-existing environment. It provides a single pane of glass for management, and node replication allows for disaster recovery and correction of corrupted or missing data due to media failure, bit rot, and so on. Spectrum Protect is unique in the market in that it does not require any additional hardware, in the form of an appliance, for example, to enable its features of scale. Many competitors require the purchase of their appliances for features such as encryption or replication, or to enable scale above small data loads. Many competitors require that specific features require additional dedicated servers or virtual machines. This may be a wide area network acceleration, which is provided by Aspera for Spectrum Protect, or serving tape storage, efficient processing of multiple clients, deduplication compute, and so on. In extreme cases, clients are even required to purchase their own licenses for the relational database management system, which supports the product at scale. IBM does not and will not insist that customers purchase IBM hardware in order to make Spectrum Protect features available. Data reduction and data efficiency are key components of IBM Spectrum Protect and IBM's data production portfolio as a whole. Data reduction is an integrated part of Spectrum Protect. As far as client compression, files are compressed by the client before transmission, which conserves network bandwidth and server storage. Incremental forever. After the initial backup, files are not backed up again unless they change. This also conserves network bandwidth and server storage. Client-side deduplication reduces network traffic by deduplicating data before transfer. Data is sent to the server's dedupe pool, which again conserves network bandwidth and server storage. Device compression. Compression is performed by the storage hardware, which conserves server storage. Server-side deduplication. Duplicate data is only stored once. Out-of-band dedupe to the disk pool and inline dedupe to a directory or cloud pools. And server-side compression. Files are compressed by the server after inline dedupe for containers, which conserves network bandwidth when writing to the cloud. Spectrum Protect is currently the only product on the market that provides failover from a primary site to a disaster recovery target server in a cluster-like manner. Restore operations are transparently failed over to an available server, making disaster recovery options, including disaster recovery rehearsals, far simpler. With just a couple of commands, backup operations can be manually moved to the disaster recovery target in the event of a catastrophic loss at the primary site. The Spectrum Protect server replicates all the data and metadata for the specified client dataset to another server, ensuring the completeness and consistency of the data and metadata. Incremental client data transfers with deduplication minimizes bandwidth consumption. Many-to-one transfer to target server. Transfer between node replication partners is so efficient that wide-area network acceleration is typically not required. Aspera wide-area network optimization can dramatically improve replication performance on poor-quality WAN links. Errors on media due to media corruption or bit rot can be corrected by replication partner servers. Single servers can also protect container pool extents to tape for corruption protection. A remote Spectrum Protect server could be a hot standby for the primary server to provide improved recovery time objectives. A native Spectrum Protect solution has no dependency on specific storage devices. Spectrum Protect supports dissimilar hardware and configuration at both primary and remote sites, and restores on a per-client basis can be done without rehydrating the deduplicated data. With IBM Spectrum Protect, data is expected to be mobile and is expected to reside on multiple different media tiers throughout its lifespan. Competitor products typically don't allow for movement, but they can duplicate. This is not the same. Duplication typically means that the image becomes separate and needs additional media and additional database loads. Data encountered within a backup can be placed onto different media on the fly based on size, source, type, and other attributes. This is simply not possible with competitor products. Spectrum Protect supports multiple different media tiers, while many competitor products support only a single tier or have very poor support for multiple tiers. And some of the main features include a centrally defined policy for what data to protect, where to store the data, and how long to keep it. Fine level granularity, and changes are retrospectively applied to data that is already managed. Spectrum Protect adjusts to fit your business needs through its flexible policy management. Not only do policies help you customize your backup strategies for specific computers, but they are flexible enough to be applied to individual files if you require. Defining policies for individual files is unique to Spectrum Protect. The policies can help outline what gets backed up, to where, and how long it is kept. Spectrum Protect's relational database allows policies to be updated and the changes to be made retroactively, so there's no need to re-backup data. This is also unique to Spectrum Protect. And IBM Spectrum Protect provides the following interfaces: an integrated solution console enterprise application interface, a web-based interface, command lines, and you can use any of these to control the Spectrum Protection server, the storage hierarchy, and all the Spectrum Protect clients. Spectrum Protect is reachable from most any device with no additional charges. Blueprints enable customers to understand the kind of performance that they should be expecting from their hardware. Blueprints take away the anxiety of buying a software-defined product by giving predictable appliance-like performance in installation while maintaining the ability to create a totally bespoke solution. This slide provides a summary of some of the features of Spectrum Protect. And now let's talk a bit about the competitive environment. IBM has been recognized as a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for data center backup and recovery for many years. In this market, newcomers tend to be lacking in overall features, but they also have one or two great features. They tend to be nimble and able to add features quickly up to a point, and they also tend to oversell what they are able to provide. Incumbents tend to have robust products, but have added some more modern features to their existing products. Incumbents tend to have large existing customer bases and legacy constraints that can complicate nimble development. Spectrum Protect Plus has the advantage of being a new product from an incumbent company, delivering the best of both worlds. This slide provides some important differentiators that Spectrum Protect has over the competition. Spectrum Protect is a clear leader in the market, and it offers scalability and performance that is unmatched in the industry. It offers the broadest support of operating system, device, and appliance coverage, and is cloud ready. Spectrum Protect offers features that save clients money, such as software-based deduplication. In terms of cost, the total cost of ownership reduction figures are based on real-world analysis of competitors' systems growth rates, with predicted costs for Spectrum Protect over 3 years. Now, when comparing, almost all competitors use the cost of their hardware and the cost of the software, which is grossly simplistic and typically massively underestimates the total cost of ownership. Now, for proper accounting, multiple metrics are taken into account, such as the required full-time equivalents required to operate the software, the office space for those full-time equivalents, power and cooling, from the smallest tape drive to the largest server or disk array, data center footprint, server hardware costs, server maintenance costs, the storage area network, wide area network, and local area network infrastructures, and the media itself, of course. And now a brief word about licensing. The Spectrum Protect suite is a license for all the Spectrum Protect products, except for Spectrum Copy Data Management, the Aspera Acceleration, and Windows Hardware Security module. IBM Spectrum Protect Plus is licensed separately per client or virtual machine. It is also licensed as part of the Spectrum Protect suite, with X Spectrum Protect Plus licenses per terabyte of Spectrum Protect suite. There are 2 types of capacity pricing and licensing models. Both are based on a per terabyte charge for the size of the primary data that is protected. The IBM Spectrum Protect suite front-end model measures the following data for licensing: active file system backups, most recently backed up files; IBM Domino database backup. The active backup consists of the most recently backed up database; IBM Spectrum Protect snapshot backups, the utilized size of the protected primary data for the application. IBM Spectrum Protect Plus measures virtual machines rather than terabytes. A ratio of 15 virtual machines per 1 terabyte of front-end capacity is used to determine this entitlement. All other application backups for the utilized size of the protected primary data of the application. While the Spectrum Protect suite backend model measures the capacity in the storage pools after deduplication and other efficiency tools have been applied, the measurement macro is different depending on the version of Spectrum Protect that is running on each server instance. And thanks very much for your attention.